cardiovascular base movement march. We are going to look at the march and all of the different movements that come from the march. So we're going to be starting in the chair. So coming for your seated participants, sitting up tall, we want to keep the march small in the chair. If their knees come up too high, what's going to happen is their hips going to start walking and their pelvis will not remain in neutral. So hands on the chair, we're just doing a very, very small march. Now this is another exercise where it's ideal if your students have the ability to weight bear and get up out of the chair, even just for a little bit. This is a great exercise to do that. Think about daily life. There's so many activities your students have to do where they're up, bearing their weight, and they're lifting their feet up. One other thing to look at is in the chair, think of the muscle that's bringing your leg up. It's the hip flexors. And for most people, hip flexors are tight, and this is just tightening them further. But for your chair-based individual who needs chair programming, this movement is better than not doing any movement at all because it will increase circulation, increase their heart health, and increase their breathing. So we've got the march. It's just very, very small in the chair. Your students may feel more comfortable with the hands by the side. We want them to get their feet first. So for this demonstration, we're just focusing on hands by the side or natural arms. And natural arms are just letting the arms go with whatever feels right for your students. So we have the march. Okay, so you've been doing this. What else can you do besides the march? That's what we're going to look at. You can make a V step. So what you can do is you can take your foot out, out, in, in. So you're just simply having your students make the letter V. And then we'll go back to that march. What else can we do with that march? We're marching in. We could actually march out a little wider too. So you could have a march in and then march wide. March in and wide. We have a few more options. Who knew there were so many things that you could do from this march? If your students like to dance, we can take it to a mambo for the march. So we've got the march, and we add in a little mambo. So it's just a little rock step. Forward, center, back, center. Again, a nice small movement in the chair. We could also have your students walk forward and back in the chair. So again, hands maybe out the side for this one. They're just going to take their feet forward, forward, back, back. Forward, forward, back, back. So that's marching in the chair and a lot of different variations from that base movement of a march. Now we can do all of those movements up out of the chair with light support. Again, we have the option of holding on lightly to the side or behind. Again, we just have our students march. Now when your students are using the chair for support for their cardio, you got natural arms. We need to have them get their feet and progress them to freestanding before we do anything else here. But we can change the feet movement a little bit. So remember that out and in, making sure they're a little bit away from the chair. They could take this out and they could take it back in. So we have the wide march and then the center march. Thinking of that V step, making the letter V, we can take it out, out, in, out, out, in. Coming back to that march, we got the dancing movement, the mambo. It's that little rock step. So think of forward, center, back, center. A little weight shift here. Remember, weight shifts are good for fall prevention. Coming back to the march, we have that forward and back step. So just stepping forward and back. Forward and back. Now for your students who don't need the chair, freestanding, we're going to come away from the chair. And again, for demonstration purposes, remember that the chair would not even be here for your freestanding classes. So we have our march. And now your students, a little more advanced, they're making their range of motion a little bit bigger, pumping their arms a little more. We can do the out and in. So maybe we move it a little quicker. Going out and in, coming back to that march, doing that V step, forward and back. Back to the march, tearing it up on the dance floor with the mambo. Back to the march, and trying that forward and back, forward and back, and coming back to that march. Now, another way that you can progress your students is adding direction. So this base movement of the march, we can take it in all different directions. So we can take it forward, back, and angles. So we call this a hustle, or you can just train them on whatever you'd like to call this. But marching, you're just going to have them walk forward and then back. So for the count, it's a 1, 2, 3, tap, back, 2, 3, tap. 1, 2, 3, tap. They get good at it moving forward. You can rock their world. Have them take it to the corner. 1, 2, 3, tap. Have them take it back center. And if we went to one corner, you might as well go to the other, taking it to the corner. Then having them head back to that march. So the march for a base movement, especially if you're just learning how to teach cardiovascular low-impact movement, it's a great movement. So many variations come out of it. And when we start adding these directional changes, we're teaching our students how to better navigate. And think about in life, all the navigation. We don't just move in one direction. We move all over the place, and we have to walk in between people and all over. So the progression on the march, from seated up to moving in multiple directions, along with all the variations, should keep your students excited to come to class and continually progressing and learning new things. So that's the base movement of the march.